Hey everybody, it's Safi and Marco Dish Out on Movies, the only movie review show on YouTube to review movies in terms of food. And it's just Marco here. I was going to do a movie review, but I thought of doing this instead because it won't take very long and it'll be a pretty short video. So, this is the ranking of all the X-Files seasons, The Lone Gunman, and the two movies. So in last place, number 14 is season 11. This season failed on every aspect. It was a total waste of time. It starts right off the bat with wiping away the cliffhanger from season 10, which was a completely lazy, shitty-ass decision. William was a terrible character. His storyline just made me want to throw up. Mulder and Scully act like they don't want to be there. The episodes are just not interesting. They're not up to par. It doesn't feel like the X-Files. And the ending is the ultimate fuck you. Where, they have all these politics shoved in there, and the ending just reveals that the whole season was about doing an abortion allegory on the X-Files. And another thing is the fact that Cigarette Man is revealed to be the father of William, so he raped Scully, and he is also sleeping with Reyes. This just seems like deliberate self-sabotage to me. I don't see how you could do these storylines and not be self-sabotaging, so it's just pretty ridiculous. Number 13 is the X-Files I Want to Believe. This is the second movie. This movie was just complete dog shit. It was so bad. I wanted to put this below season 11, but there were episodes in season 11 that were better than this movie, so I couldn't. This movie, it was about some random, organ harvesting thing, a head transplant, I don't know. It was so bad, it didn't feel like the X-Files in any way. It was boring, it was lifeless. This is one of the worst movies I've ever seen. It was so horrible, and, I really wish I could put this in last place. That's how bad it is. Number 12 is season 10. This brought the X-Files back for a measly 6 episodes. Mulder and Scully act like they don't want to be there. They act like they're just taking a paycheck. There are a couple of good ideas, a couple of interesting things that happen, but you can't really do very much with 6 episodes, and so there's a lot of trash in it too. There's agendas in this, even though not as many as season 11. Just a terrible season. I really wish that the X-Files could have come back and made a good series instead of it. As I said, it feels like self-sabotage, which is a shame. So number 11 is the X-Files Fight the Future. This is... It's another terrible movie. Thinking about, this is what we got for an X-Files movie. When you think about what they did with the Charlie's Angels movie, the early 2000s one, when you think about even Tales from the Crypt, Demon Knight, when you think about all these other TV shows that made a movie, House of Dark Shadows, Night of Dark Shadows, those movies are really, really good, even on their own. This X-Files movie, it is complete crap. Nothing interesting happens in it. The plot is so bare and so basic and so bad that I can't even remember. And the subtitle is terrible too. Fight the Future? Ugh. And you know what else is weird? Is that both... Okay, well, I'll talk about that in the episode rankings. But it is very weird. In fact, I would like to bring it up because it is kind of creepy. So, I'm going to bring it up here, I've decided. So, I think Chris Cop-Out Carter, he has some sort of a obsession with pedophiles because every single time, like, the X-Files fight the future, you have Martin Landau, and his character gives Mulder all this helpful information. He becomes like the Deep Throat because they killed Deep Throat and they killed Mr. X. But then it's revealed that like Martin Landau supposedly has like you know what on his computer, and so he's a pedophile. And then in the X-Files, I want to believe they're working with this priest, this Scottish priest, and he's a pedophile. And he said, I castrated myself when I was 26. And so he's a self-admitted pedophile. And then in season 11, they had this whole storyline where there was this pedophile, and they rushed to conclude that he was the bad guy, and you have mob violence, and then a police officer shot him for no reason. And it's like, what's the deal with like all these pedophiles on the X-Files being portrayed as like, I don't know, like I think that's really strange. I just realized that a few days ago, and I thought, oh, this is pretty weird. Like, ugh. Number 10 is season 4. This season is really bad. I don't care what people say. Some people think this is the best season. I think it's terrible. Right off the bat, it completely fails on having a satisfying conclusion to the season 3 finale, which ended on one of the best cliffhangers ever. So it completely destroyed that cliffhanger. And then it had several terrible episodes, like the one where Mulder and Scully are reincarnated, and it was all about making them not be together. And then you had the black oil crap, which nobody cares about. You had the episode where it was all about his sister might have been killed by a serial killer. Who knows? And Mulder falls for it for no reason. And one of the big problem this season, and then Scully has her cancer storyline that makes her act really terribly. And she puts on this really melodramatic performance. It's terrible. It's like a soap opera. But then Mulder, you can tell that the actor in real life has a sex addiction, because every time he interacts with like a female character, he's practically like drooling over her. And so it really comes off as kind of weird. It does have a couple of highlights, but the thing is that it's so bad overall. And then the finale too. The finale is all about how aliens never existed. They were all just created by the government, and the government is the real villain. This season, it's terrible. It is so inconsistent. A couple of fantastic episodes can't save this season from being trash. So, number 9 is season 7. This is another one where you can tell that the actors don't want to be there. In particular, David Duchovny. He started to not want to do the show. And the thing is that once that happens, you just have to let it go. And you have to just change the show to evolve it without destroying it just for one actor. And instead, they destroyed it just for one actor. And David Duchovny, you could tell the whole season he's just so happy he's going to leave. Because instead of looking like an FBI agent, he started to wear a leather jacket like on Californication. And he started to have like hair like in Californication. And it was just all about him getting ready to leave. And he's just so excited about leaving. And I just thought, like, this is terrible. like the way that it's just all centered around like just it was almost like, you know how like in high school people would really goof off on senior year. It's like that's what Mulder acted like in this season. Not only that, but you also had the stupid Bible tablet, the alien tablets that were supposedly like from like God created aliens, and that or God was an alien. Like there was some really weird storyline that they came up with, and they even, this is funny too. I never saw the show Millennium, but apparently the episode called Millennium was a backdoor series finale to that show after it got canceled. And I just think that's hilarious because I watched it and didn't even know that happened. And so I thought that was pretty funny. And there are a couple of good episodes, but most of them are really pretty bad. Like, there's some really bad episodes, like First Person Shooter, which was like an anti-video game propaganda episode. There were two where David Duchovny, he directed one, Gillian Anderson directed the other one. They were both horrible, and they both felt like, really? After all these years, you guys don't even know your own characters? And like after all these years, this is the best you can come up with? Like, ugh, you guys are not very good, apparently, at writing. So you have one of them, which was like a religious themed episode about Scully discovering Buddhism. And I'm not going to get into it, but just both of them were terrible. And then you had the one with Kathy Griffin, where she plays like twins, and oh god, that was terrible. And it ends, of course, with Mulder being voluntarily abducted, which I never thought I would see that happen. Let's see. Number 8 is season 5. This season is bad because the idiots who made the show thought that they should end the show after 5 seasons and then just make a couple of movies after that and be done. And so it was like this season was purposefully, it was another thing where it felt like they're taking a preemptive victory lap before they even won. And so this season just feels like another thing where they're on autopilot. And it starts off with, of course, the stupid story about aliens never existing in the first place. There are a couple of really good episodes, like the episode about the lone gunmen, the Detour episode, the Frankenstein one, the Chenga, Kill Switch, Bad Blood, the comedic vampires one, that was really good. And then, of course, but then we have the bad. And there's all these horrible episodes. Like, I think one of the worst episodes in history is Kitsunegari, because this was a sequel to one of the best episodes of the series, and it was a complete failure, and it was so disappointing. It was so bad, and they brought the Pusher back to life after they said he would die, and that was just not a good decision. And then the whole Emily story where Scully finds out she has a daughter, and she kills that one too. And so, she hates children, apparently. And then, of course, the Travelers episode, which Safi, she likes that one. I despise it. It's all about, like, it's not even like an X-Files episode. It's just like this random guy talking about an X-File that happened in the 50s. And the way that it's shot like a Full Moon Features movie from 2022. You know, it looks so cheap and so terrible, and it's such an uninteresting story. And just season 5 in general, they had less episodes too, because they were shooting the movie. And the movie was not worth having less episodes. Number 7 is season 9. This season, I think the reason why it's so low is because it was the last season. And because several things that, like, it felt like they just were not getting the message of, you know, David Duchovny doesn't want to do anymore. Because they just kept on revolving everything around Mulder, everything around William, and it's like, we're sick of these characters. These characters don't matter to us. Like, Mulder's gone, he left inexplicably, where in the first episode they literally just say, he's gone, and that's it. And then there's all this stupid story about William where it's like, what is he? Does he have superpowers? It's like, who cares? But the worst thing about this season is the fact that you had some genuinely really good episodes, and Reyes and Doggett, they were so much better than Mulder and Scully became. And they had some really good episodes, and it was so frustrating to know that the series was going to end when you had these really great actors and they were doing a great job. And, you know, it's like, who cares about Mulder and Scully anymore? I want to see more Reyes and Doggett. And at the same time, they did one of the worst things ever, and they killed the lone gunman. This choice not only was bad as an episode, it was also bad for the season and the series. Oh my god. Bernie, my cat, is like crying outside. I'm gonna let him in. He was like crying outside the door. Bernie. Bernie. Come on in. Did you guys hear any of that? He was like crying outside the door. He was so upset. But killing off the lone gunman, it was so frustrating because it felt like even if they killed off the lone gunman, there were two other characters who could have carried on their legacy. And there was also another character who was like a computer nerd, and so it felt like they could have easily restarted the Lone Gunman's magazine. It just felt like another ultimate self-sabotage. And I'm really getting sick of seeing Chris Cop-Out Carter and his cop-outs. Because it's like, this is not good. This is not good storytelling to have this cop-out mentality. It's not good to do that. It's terrible. It creates terrible content. And so I really hated that. It was a terrible finale to the series, too, to The Lone Gunman as a series, because you think all of this was for nothing, apparently. Like, they even have the beginning where Morris, the government agent, he has this whole monologue where he says, like, sometimes the good guys lose, and sometimes the good guys die. And it's like, God, this is just so shitty. It's so shitty to see this. It really pisses me off. It's just really, it is infuriating, to be honest. Like, it is really infuriating. Because honestly, I would have rather preferred to have 20 seasons of The Lone Gunman than to have any more X-Files, period. So number 6, I don't know what he's like jumping over my foot like it's an obstacle. So number 6 is season 6. This season it was like a really weird tonal shift where they started shooting in California, and so it looked very orange and yellow this season. And it started off too where, like, let's see, how many episodes did it take? It took like, I can't even remember, like it took like 1 million episodes for the X-Files to even be reinstated again. It was also, this season was too comedic, it was too light. That being said, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 out of 22 episodes I would watch at any time. For starters, The Unnatural, I thought was a really good episode. It was like a baseball episode about an alien baseball player. You had Dreamland, this two-parter. You had the Two Fathers, One Son, where Cigarette Man kills his own son, which was just amazing. You have what is, in my opinion, the best episode of the series, which is Monday. And that is the bank heist episode where it's like Groundhog Day inside of a bank. And I thought that was the best episode of the series. So this one was very good this season. It did have some problems, though. Number 5 was season 8. This season was fan-fucking-tastic because it was such a relief after season 7 that the series would get back on track. It really felt like Reyes and Doggett were characters that I wanted to follow, and it felt like it was finally getting back to the old X-Files feel. Like Red Rum, that was such a good episode, and we never would have gotten that with Mulder. And then Via Negativa was like Nightmare on Elm Street meets X-Files. I don't know what he's doing now. Now he wants to leave. So he wanted to be in here and then he wanted to leave. I guess I don't know. But then you have Badla. That episode is a masterpiece. It was so creepy. It's the Indian one on the cart. That was extremely creepy episode. Masterpiece of an episode. And then in the second half, they had this really great story where Mulder comes back to life, and he's a part of just the second half where he comes back and to help and to save the day in certain spots. And in my opinion, this season, it has the best season finale of the entire series, where Scully gives birth and Krychek finally gets taken down, and this whole episode is just fantastic. It doesn't make any sense, and it's an extremely dumb story, but it really is very entertaining, and it is the best finale. So, number 4 is season 2. This season, it's a classic, blah, blah, blah. It has a lot of great classic episodes, a lot of, the Dwayne Barry story. It has a lot of bad episodes, too. Like, there are some episodes in this season that it's just like, how could you... Like, how could you say this is a masterpiece of a season with an episode like Fearful Symmetry about the zoo and about like missing elephants or something? But then there were some really great stories like Colony and Endgame, where they introduced the alien bounty hunter. They have one episode where Mulder and Scully literally died. And then they have one, which I also think is a contender for best episode of the series, and it's called The Kalasari. And it's all about this little boy who has an evil twin demon inside of him. And it's his twin who was unborn. And I thought that was an extremely creepy, terrifying episode. And it had another one, Blood, which I thought was another masterpiece. But overall, I don't think it's the best season. I don't think it's the worst season. It's pretty much in the middle. In fact, I would say season 8 is better than seasons 1 and 2, for sure. Season 1... Okay, where am I again? Number 3 is season 1. This is an extremely underrated season. Whenever people talk about the X-Files, they always say, I like everything except for the last season and season 1. And I have to wonder why, because there's so many great episodes. There are so many creepy episodes that the finale is really good. You have the pilot, you have Ice, which is like a Thing parody type of story, and then you have Squeeze, which is also considered one of the best episodes. And so this season, what I really liked about it is that it was back when it felt like the X-Files had a long way to go. It felt like they were going to have to go through a lot of obstacles. It felt like they were going to have to get a lot of allies, and they were going to face a lot of enemies. It just felt like the show had a lot more potential than it ever explored. You know, like it felt like this show, it could have been something amazing, and instead it's just something that's okay. Like, it's just really okay overall. You know, even people who are fans admit that the best episodes are like the one-off episodes. So, I always find that pretty funny. Number 2 is season 3. This season is extremely... The number one word I would use is consistent. The other seasons struggle because they're so inconsistent, and you feel like, oh, I don't want to watch that whole season. I just want to watch an episode here or there. Season 3 feels like I would probably easily choose to watch this full season than watch any other full season ever again. Well, maybe season 8. Season 8 I would watch over again entirely. But you have the episode Syzygy about the twin girls who have telekinesis. That is actually my favorite episode of the series. Apologies about that confusion. And then Pusher, that's another one which I would consider an A+ masterpiece. There are a couple of bad ones. You know, you have your Tessos das Bichos, but I really felt like Vince Gilligan, he became story editor this season or something, or I don't know, what did he become? Let's look it up. Let's try to find it. Because for some reason we researched and we noticed that since Vince Gilligan was, you know, really heavily involved, let's see what he was though, because I don't want to be telling tales out of YouTube. Where is he? Where is Vince Gilligan? I don't see him. Where is he? Let's go. Didn't he do Pusher? And of course he did the first season 3 had the first ever comedic episode called Jose Chung's From Outer Space. That was revolutionary for the series because up to this point the show was taking itself way too seriously. And so it was really refreshing to have that comedic episode. Let's see, where is he? I swear, this is not the Mandela effect. Where is it? I don't know. I don't have time to look for that, to search for that for a million years. But just this season, it is just so good. You start off with the great story about Mulder coming back from the dead, and the story about finding out more about the mythology in an entertaining way. These 2 mythology episodes were pretty good. Even the Monster of the Week episodes were pretty good. You have one like Too Shy, where you had this monster who was like luring women through a dating website, and with poetry, and that was a really creepy episode. You have the one about the cockroaches. That one is a really good episode. You had the one about gargoyles. You had the 2 black oil episodes, which sucked. But the big highlight of the season is definitely, Clyde Bruckman. That's another one that people can't live without. And then Syzygy and Pusher. But the number 1 X-Files season, is not an X-Files season. The number 1 X-Files season is The Lone Gunmen, Season 1. This season is so masterful. It is so good. It starts off with one of the worst episodes of TV I've ever seen in the pilot. It immediately makes a complete 100% turnaround where it's like comedic at the same time. Like, it doesn't take itself too seriously. And you have these other characters, Jimmy Bond and Eve. Those characters really make the show. And they're really good characters in comparison to, like, Skinner. Where Skinner, he never really had much of a character. He was just kind of a punching bag. Whereas Jimmy Bond, he had this whole really good character arc where he was looked at as kind of an idiot, and he proved himself with this, the 3 men and a smoking baby or whatever. And the season ended with a really good finale too, where it ends on this really good cliffhanger, and it just, I don't know how to describe it. It's just such a good show that you feel like you could watch forever. Whereas the rest of the X-Files felt like every season had all these behind-the-scenes issues that they never told you about. Like, every season always had drama, always had some sort of outside influence. This season is the only season of the whole series that feels like it didn't have any outside influence, except for telling people what to fix after watching the pilot. So, The Lone Gunmen is the best thing the X-Files ever did, and of course they killed them off. Just very typical of Chris Cop-Out Carter to do. So please like this video and comment and tell me what your rankings would be for all the X-Files seasons. And then please subscribe to this channel if you'd like to see more X-Files videos. Goodbye everybody, see you soon.